Hello, my name is Staš Hable, and I am the principal percussionist with the Chippewa Valley Symphony, and we're so happy to bring to you guys these videos of us demonstrating our instruments. And where a lot of the other videos you've probably seen have been demonstrating maybe just one instrument, maybe two, I have a whole family of instruments, all part of the Percussion Family. And I have been playing percussion, or I first learned back in, I was in 6th grade when I signed up for middle school band, which I'm sure will be a couple years for you guys. But I should also say that I've been a percussionist my whole life, as well as all of you are already percussionists. And do you know why? Have you ever drummed on a table? Have you ever tapped your leg or anything else before? If you answered yes to those questions, then you are a percussionist, because the whole percussion family is anything that you hit, even with your hands. You don't need a fancy mallet like this. But there are hundreds of instruments in the percussion family. Definitely don't have enough time to show them all, but I have some jam-packed in my basement. There's not enough room upstairs, so you get to see my messy basement, but I'm happy to show you guys just a sampling of percussion instruments that you would hear in a Chippewa Valley Symphony concert. So first we've got two that are part of the mallet percussion family. Also, they are melodic, and maybe you've played something like these before in your music classes in school. They look like a piano keyboard, and you've probably heard of a xylophone, maybe a metallophone, things I bet you've played in class before. This one is a xylophone. It originated in Asia, and then moved to Africa, and then to Europe, and then to here. And I'm going to be pointing that out with many of the instruments that I'm going to be showing you, is that they come from all over the world, which I think is really fun and interesting. But like I said, this one's the xylophone because it's made out of wood, and you can do fun stuff like this on it. Or of course you can play a song. And so on and so forth. Then we're going to move to this instrument. This one's called the bells, or also known as the Glockenspiel in German. And it's bells because it's made out of metal. So it has a little bit more resonant, trinkly sound, like if we do the same thing. Kind of maybe like a fantasy fairy type thing. And of course we can also play a song on it just as well. And you may be thinking, bells, this doesn't look like bells. You may be thinking something like this. I bet you've seen this, like we have the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, and we do play stuff like this. It only has one pitch, unlike these, but this is also a bell because it's made out of metal, and you may have heard something like this when you've been summoned to dinner or something like that. I don't know, my parents used to ring this when dinner was ready. Other kind of bell type things that we have, and none of these have pitches. We've got some little trinkly ones like this. I bet maybe you can barely even hear them. And then around Christmas time, I know we're almost done with winter, but you probably heard something like this when Santa Claus is coming to town. So we have lots of those instruments as well. So we're done with the pitched instruments. We're going to move over to a group of instruments called auxiliary percussion, or also hand percussion. And they're called hand percussion because we can fit them in our hands. Just play them right here. So I already showed you the bells, but we got a couple other ones. Here's another one that's made out of metal, and I bet you can figure out why this one's called the triangle. It's got 3 sides, right? And again, you can ring it like this. Also kind of like a supper's ready type sound. We've got a couple other instruments too, such as these are called the Castanets. I don't really have them wrapped very well, but these come from Spain. A lot of times they play them while they're doing a dance. These are called the Claves. They come from Latin America, which is just south of the US. There's a whole group of countries, such as Cuba and Mexico. It's basically just 2 sticks, and you play them together. You could try it with 2 sticks, but these are specifically designed to sound like this. Then we've got the cowbell. And I don't know if you've ever seen a cow with a cowbell before, but they literally used to put these on cows, and it would have a little metallic piece inside that would ring. But now we play them as an instrument and play stuff like that. And whenever you play one of these, you may be asked for more cowbell. And And we've got a couple things that we can shake. We've got these called the egg shakers. Again, a lot of these are kind of very literal terms, right? Doesn't it look like an egg, the shape? And you just shake it like this. It's a very rhythmic thing. Maybe it sounds like a snake, like a rattlesnake too. And we've got a couple other things, such as this is called a cymbal. And you may notice too that actually from here on out, a lot of the instruments we're going to be playing, I'm going to be demonstrating for you, are circular shaped. And that's for science class in a couple of years. You're going to figure out why that is. But this is a cymbal. It's not a drum. And the cymbal comes from Turkey. Have you ever heard of Turkey? Like the animal? Well, Turkey is a country in the Middle East. That's where this instrument comes from. And you hit it and it can be really loud, so maybe cover your ears. And you can hit it even louder. But we're gonna get to some more cymbals in a second, but now I'm gonna introduce the drum family. This is the final group of instruments that I'm gonna be playing for you all. And we can kind of transition with one that is both part of the drum family and the hand percussion family. This is a tambourine. You can play it many ways. You can shake it, a little bit similar to the shakers. But the other thing is you can play with your hand like a drum, and you can see it's circular. What makes it a tambourine though is we've got these little metallic discs that are all around, and you maybe also seen people do a little dance with those, and we play them all the time in orchestra. So anyways, here are now the drums. And so a drum always has a drum head. See, it's thin, and it may have two drum heads, but at least one. And you're gonna see that on all the instruments. So they have a drum head and then a frame. And there are a few exceptions, I guess I should say that. We've got these right here. These are called steel drums, maybe not technically a drum, but they come from the Caribbean Sea and the countries there. They're made from oil drums, kind of why they're called drums. But you may have heard something like this anytime you hear like a tropical kind of music and whatnot. But the drums are probably one of the oldest instruments in the entire world, and most cultures have a drum. Like I said, you can play them with your hands. We've got a little one like this. This would have come probably from West Africa. So I'm making a pretty good sound, right? Just out of my hands. You can put it between your legs. But then we're gonna move into some more European drums. This is an early drum that comes from the time of kings and castles and knights. This is called a tabor, and we've got this little string. That's what makes it a tabor, and you can play it like, and that is the predecessor to the modern drums, which we're gonna move to in a second. And we've got drums of every size. We've got drums that are a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna play these with a drum stick like so, just a piece of wood. We've got drums that are a little bit bigger. Then we got drums that are so big that I can't even pick them up. This is the bass drum. That one's pretty loud. It's called the bass drum. You can remember it. I'm in the basement, which is the lowest part of the house. It's the lowest instrument. And so, like I said, that's the bass drum, and we got more over here. But this is one of the ones that you're gonna be hearing a lot. This is the snare drum, and much like how I was showing you guys, this drum has this little rope on the bottom. This is the more modern version of it, where we've got a little snare, this wire on the bottom. And if we turn it off, it sounds like any other drum. But if we turn it on, you may have heard something like this, maybe if you've ever seen a marching band. You can do a drum roll whenever you're anticipating something. And we can put all of these things together on a drum set. So remember the cymbals, these little, not little, but these circular metallic instruments. We've got a couple of those, and looks like we got a couple of drums, right? So we can sit down, and we can even play it with a couple other tools. So we've got, obviously, I've showed you the drumsticks. We've got mallets that are made out of yarn. You can also get them made out of felt, where we can do a little, like, play it on the cymbal. Sounds like that. And then this. These are called, can you guess it? brushes. Maybe you don't want to use them on your hair, but you can play it on a string like this. It's a little bit quieter. It might not anger your parents so much like mine whenever I'm playing really loud. But I'm going to play a little bit for you all together. I've got a snare drum, much like this one. I've got a bass drum on, what I'm going to be playing with my feet. And that's one of the fun things about percussion is we can be using all of our limbs. I've got cymbals, and all together I can play a beat. And that's a taste of the Percussion Family. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your videos.